It's a miracle. A Christmas miracle. What's up guys, Excalibur here and welcome back to Star Ocean Anamnesis. So today we're covering Meracle. And let's get started immediately. Meracle is a really fast character who's all about doing high damage. Her first talent, Hunter's Intuition, increases her own critical hit chance by 30% and the critical hit chance for every ally that's standing at close range by 30%. Critical hits can increase your damage dramatically, and there aren't many characters who give themselves an increased chance of doing critical hits without the aid of accessories, weapons, or post-rush buffs, so this is actually pretty nice. Her second talent, Memories of Ocarina, increases the AP recovery speed of herself and every defender by 50%. This is not AP recovery on normals, this is just standing AP recovery, so when you're standing still, you recover AP 50% faster. Unfortunately, because of the existence of AP recovery on normals, this one is kind of obsolete. Her third talent, Isolation, increases her own attack by 20%. This buff is already integrated in the 3200 attack that you can see down there, and that is absolutely monstrous, so it could allow her to do a lot of damage. And her last talent, Cat's Interlude, reduces her own AP cost by 20% and increases her attack by 10%, 20%, or 30% when the hit count is sitting at 100, 150, or 200. That AP cost reduction is not tied to the hit count, it's just a flat 20% reduction, and the attack buff actually stacks with her other attack buff, so you definitely want to get that hit count up as quickly as you can. And Meracle can actually do a pretty good job at building the hit count herself because of how fast she is. So that's it for her talents. Now moving on to her battle skills. First up we have Crescent Locust. Unleash a kick capable of decimating the ground beneath you. Its power is determined by multiplying attack by 150%. It does 4 hits and it costs 17 AP. This attack is beautiful. It can fill a bunch of different roles. It doesn't cost that much AP and it comes out ridiculously fast. So you can use this as a combo opener or you can use it as a combo finisher. Then up next we have Gouging Spike. Barrel roll straight ahead, hitting any foes in your way. Its power is determined by multiplying attack by 160%. It does 4 hits as well, and it costs 16 AP. This is the exact same attack as Welch's Drill Spike, which I keep going on about how it's amazing, but the problem is that you can't really use this in like an actual fight because it actually pushes the boss away when you use it. So I wouldn't recommend using this more than once in a combo, but if you need it as filler, you can definitely use it. Then we have Eviscerating Claw. Jump, cross your arms, and create an X-shaped shockwave. Its power is determined by multiplying attack by 250%. It does 6 hits and it costs 25 AP. This attack would actually be really good if Meracle had an air dodge of some kind because it launches you up in the air and you can't really do much when you're there, so if you're being attacked you can't avoid damage, which is why I don't really recommend using this attack, but it's great for attacking multiple enemies. And then we have Claws of Fury. Unleash a combo attack of scratching, uppercuts, and pummeling. Its power is determined by multiplying attack by 700%. It does 27 hits and it costs 40 AP. Now on paper this is actually Meracle's strongest attack, but in an actual fight you'll find out that the animation takes way too long to complete and the entire animation needs to be completed before you can get the full amount of damage out of it. So you'll end up using this mostly during Element Burst Stun, and outside of that you can't really get much use out of this attack, but I would still rate it above Eviscerating Claw. And lastly we have her Rush, Max Shockwave. Gather a ball of energy above your head and hurl it at your foe. Its power is determined by multiplying attack by 4000%, and as a post-rush buff it decreases Meracle's AP cost by 40% for 20 seconds. This rush is pretty basic, it just does a lot of damage because of Meracle's amazing attack stat and that 4000 multiplier of course, and it also reduces her AP cost by 40%, which further increases her damage post-rush, but that's pretty much all it does, just tons and tons of damage, so you want to try to fit this at the end of your rush combo, or your rush chain, I mean. Moving on to equipment, luckily Knuckle users actually have a lot of good free stuff to choose from, so you don't have to depend on the gacha to give you what you want. First of all, I recommend the Pharaoh Caltrops, which you can find in the Executioner shop. These Knuckles imbue your attacks with fire, and when they're max limit broken, they give you a small AP recovery on normals. 20% I think. So if you're fighting an enemy weak to fire, I definitely recommend bringing these. The Executioners are rerunning right now, so you can get this from their shop, but aside from that, it's not really great off element. However, as another free alternative, we have the Gaia God Fists, which you can obtain from the Knuckle Coin Shop, and these imbue your attacks with Earth. But the main reason why you want to bring these is because at max limit break, they have a massive 840 attack stat. So they're great against enemies weak to Earth, but even off element, they're also fantastic considering that 840 attack stat. And lastly, we also have the Cat Claws, which you can obtain from the gacha. These have a mighty 964 attack stat at max limit break. They imbue your attacks with wind, give you an 80-20 guts, and at limit break 3 you get that last factor, which gives you an additional hit, which is not that important. You're mostly going to use these against enemies weak to wind, but you could also use them in Misery 3 for instance, because of that guts, which is great for surviving attacks there. However, in general, I still recommend running a max limit broken pair of Gaia God Fists over limit break 1 Cat Claws, unless you have these at max limit break, in which case run these over the Gaia God Fists, but that's very doubtful. So max limit break Gaia God Fists are way better. And lastly, as an accessory, we have the Eagle Eye Charm, which increases your chance of causing stun. You can obtain this from the Armorous event right now, or you could have gotten it from the Pumpkin Cryptvine back during Halloween. So this thing's pretty decent when it comes to increasing your damage output because it causes Element Burst Stun a little sooner. So now moving on to her battle skill setup, first of all I recommend running Crescent Locust because as I already stated, it's fast, doesn't cost a lot of AP, it can do damage, rack up the hit count. It's really good overall. Then secondly, I recommend running Gouging Spike, which you can use as a filler attack in your combos. It's kind of annoying to the rest of the party, but it's safe and it doesn't cost a lot of AP. And lastly, I recommend running Claws of Fury because of the amount of damage that it can potentially do. You could also run Eviscerating Claw instead of Claws of Fury, but I would mostly recommend running that for the mazes, where you need a bit more crowd control, some more AoE attacks. And with this setup, a combo that you can use goes as follows: a normal attack into Crescent Locust, into Gouging Spike, into as many Crescent Locusts as you can fit. This is generally what I recommend you use throughout the entire fight. You can move around really quickly, you can do a lot of damage, and you can rack up the hit count as well. But if the enemy happens to be Element Burst Stun, you could also exchange Crescent Locust for Claws of Fury. Does a bit more damage, racks up the hit count a little quicker, and it's just overall easier to use on enemies that are standing still. And lastly, let's move on to a party composition. Seeing as how Meracle is a physical attacker, obviously we need to put in the Queen of Buffing physical attackers, 2B. She buffs attack for the entire party depending on who's sitting at full HP of course. She gives increased AP recovery on normals, which is great for Meracle so that she can constantly keep up the damage, and she also buffs elemental damage post-rush, which can also help Meracle if she's running an elemental weapon of some kind. And then secondly, to even further increase Meracle's lethality, we have 9S. 9S buffs damage of every character in the party depending on who's sitting at full health of course. He also increases movement speed, which is another thing that's great for Meracle. It allows her to get around a lot quicker, and with how fast Meracle already is, that just makes her even stronger. And post-rush, he also increases attack damage. And lastly, to tie this all together, we have Reyna. So seeing as how the Nier characters are all about sitting at full health, she can keep everybody at full health. She also has Angel Feather to make Meracle do even more damage. The only unfortunate part about this party is that we're not really doing anything with the hit count, but I'm pretty sure Meracle can take care of that herself. She's incredibly fast and she can keep up the hit count herself, so there you go. Alright, with all that out of the way, let's summarize. Meracle's main duty is to do lots and lots of damage. All her talents focus on increasing her own damage output. She's got fast animations and low AP costs. And with a little party support, she can take full advantage of her strengths. She also has an incredibly strong rush combo, mostly because of her very high attack stat, but also because the combo itself has like a 4000% multiplier. It also lowers her AP costs by 40%, which makes her even deadlier. However, when all is said and done, she still suffers from the fact that she has no party buffs aside from a crit buff. This game is very heavily based around team play, and if you have a character that just does not have any party buffs, they would need to have some incredible damage to compensate, and Meracle does not have that, so unfortunately she is being held back by the fact that she has no party buffs, but she is still very usable. Overall, Meracle is decent, but she does have a redeeming factor in the fact that she doesn't need specialized parties to do lots of damage. She can easily work in any random public party that you find yourself in, and that actually makes her really good for public play. So as long as the Meracle player knows what they're doing, you can actually see some good damage coming out of her. Alright, and that does it for the Meracle guide. So this one took a while to come out, or for me to make at least, and hopefully we won't be getting any new characters next week, so I can actually focus on Edge and do some of the older characters that I've been wanting to do for a while, and that actually makes me wonder, are we going to get an update tomorrow on Tuesday, which is January 1st? Considering a lot of people have days off on January 1st, I'm not sure if they're actually going to update it, like if they actually need to be in office to do that. I'm not sure about that, so we'll just have to wait and see. They haven't put out an advance notice either, so who knows, maybe it's going to be Wednesday, maybe tomorrow, but regardless, hope you guys enjoyed that, hope it was helpful, and I guess I'll see you all next time. Peace!